So let's talk about Royals Orioles. Now, game one, pretty nice pitching matchup to sink our teeth into. Cole Reagans versus Corbin Burns. I don't know which. Let's just start on the pitching matchup front. Which one do you like better, Skubal, Valdez, or Reagans, Burns?
Maybe Reagan's Burns. Burns got that postseason pedigree there. He's done it a lot in Milwaukee, but you got the young up and coming lefty, like the guy that's going to be the next dude. He might have that Tarek Skubal type season in 2025 for the Royals. So I like the right left matchup, getting the different looks on both sides. But you're right. The pitching is extraordinary. We'll get to the superstar status of some of the guys that's going between these two clubs, Royals, Orioles. I like the color scheme matchup, right, with the royal blue against the bright orange. Like, this is going to be vibrant. It's not that orange stuff that we got going on in Houston, which is fine. But nevertheless, I think Royals, Orioles creates a tongue twister for a lot of people as well. So I'm excited for this series. And excited for the pitching matchups. Are we agreeing on everything? Are you also going Reagans versus Burns in game one as the better pitching matchup?
I think I'm going to go with the Cy Young. I want to see Skubal getting that start. And Valdez has turned himself into a really good postseason pitcher, where I think that's the one I'm a little more excited about, not to mention Severino, Peralta, come on. But no, I think for me, I would say I'm a little more keyed into that first game. I just love the underdog story too. I have hopped on the Tigers bandwagon over the last 3 weeks, and I've been completely bought into what they're doing. So that's sort of my American League team that I'm a little bit of a fan of right now. But there's that storyline for who's better baseball that we just can't ignore here, which is Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, big stage. I mean, Bobby won the season, but can Gunnar win the series, right? Couple big home runs. All of a sudden, we open up a dialogue again. Who's the better postseason performer? That's going to be a lot of fun to watch as well.
They said we wouldn't last, and yet the script we submitted was the one that they chose. Bobby Baseball versus Gunnar. Yeah, that's just going to be such an exciting matchup for more likely the runner-up in the MVP voting for the American League. Yeah, maybe third place, Gunnar Henderson. We'll see where he winds up. But yeah, the future of the American League on full display between these two shortstops that are going to be around for a very long time. And again, one bats from the right-hand side, one bats from the left-hand side. One's got a lot more speed than the other. So Bobby Witt Jr. will be one of the better parts of this postseason. And the first round is America really getting to see Bobby Witt Jr. on full display, because we don't always get to see the young players in big spots like these, or the best players in the game don't always make the postseason. And if you were to run down the list of the top 10 most exciting players in the game, I think we've got most of them. Ellie De La Cruz, too bad, so sad. Paul Skeens. But we've got two of the best, most exciting young players right now in Baltimore, and Bobby Witt Jr. versus Gunnar Henderson. And, as baseball fans, we're very lucky for that matchup.
We are, for sure. And I think it really has to come down to that matchup for the Royals to win, because their offense is so dependent on Bobby Witt Jr. So he's got to be the MVP in this series. He's got to be the one that really lifts them up. I think Salvador Perez obviously has the postseason experience to draw on. He's clearly the leader that they're going to turn to. But when it comes to the play on the field, Bobby Witt's going to set the tone for the Royals. And I don't know. It's going to be an interesting matchup to kind of get in beyond that. I don't really know who else is going to go here for the Orioles. The Royals have announced their pitchers. They're going Reagans, Lugo, and then apparently Michael Wacha for a potential game 3. My assumption would be Eflin if he's ready to go and pitch a game 2 for the Orioles. And then beyond that, I don't know who exactly they're going to go to. Do the Royals have the pitching edge, at least on the starting front? And even the bullpens, I don't even know if the Orioles have the best bullpen coming in here. So do we give the edge pitching-wise to the Royals, and maybe the Orioles have the clear edge offensively?
I would. Over the weekend, in talking about all the crazy playoff scenarios, there was a lot of praise going around for Michael Wacha as one of those guys who is integral in really helping lift the Royals go from that 106 loss team in 2023 to where they're at right now. And, for him getting that ball in game 3 and what could be the game that decides their season, they're going to rally behind the guy that's been that leader, been that guy that's, He's danced around to a bunch of different teams over the last few years, and yet here he is at the forefront, leading the rotation in this way, despite the stats maybe not backing that up as him being the ace. He's not the ace, but he might be the most valuable guy, at least in the clubhouse. And in this series, I think if you look at all of the wild card round matchups, I think the Baltimore Orioles, head and shoulders above any team out there, has the most pressure on them. The Brewers, again, okay, they're there and no one expected it in a lot of different ways, but they're really good. They did. They at least won their division, but the Orioles are supposed to be this team where now is their time. Last year was kind of their time too, a little bit early, but hey, you know what? That's okay. This was our first bite at the apple. Now they're really expected to go deep into the playoffs, for the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years as part of this dynasty that they've built up. That's part of the whole benefit of tanking, is that you get a bunch of guys together at the same time so that your window of contention isn't just 1 year. It's really more like 3 or 4 years. And now they're in the middle of it. They're in the heart of it. They're expected to win and go on. And after failing to win the AL East, they need to win this first round matchup. And it's not going to be easy going against the upstart Kansas City Royals.
It's not. It's really interesting that you put it that way. And honestly, I was thinking in my head, like, would they be the team that has that most pressure? And I think I still lean a little bit towards the Padres, because that's definitely a team that was built for this year, maybe has a little bit of a shorter lifespan potentially than the Orioles. But then I thought about their game one starter. How many more years are you going to have Corbin Burns? Is this it? Is it one and done? Is he going to sign with another team? And all indications sort of seem like they might not pony up to sign him to that massive contract that he has earned in free agency coming up here. So I think with that in mind, there really is a lot of pressure, because you have the guy that you want to lead you there. You got to get it done now, especially if Burns does win you a game one. You can't drop the next two. You got to get beyond that, which leads me to ask this question. As we look ahead, things have set up pretty interestingly where we could get Orioles Yankees in the next round. Other side of it, it's Guardians waiting for the winner of Astros Tigers. I guess technically you have another potential division rivalry with the Tigers and the Guardians, although I think the Astros might win that series. Yankees Orioles. If you get Yankees Orioles, Mets Phillies, Dodgers Padres, then it really is a division series, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would be exciting. That's almost how you'd love to draw it up. And I think most seasons it's almost impossible for something like that to happen. So that would just be really exciting. And, going back to what we were talking about with the pressure being on Baltimore, how many games has this roster won in October? The answer is none, because they got
0.
swept. They got swept by the Texas Rangers. So again, you want to talk about pressure being on any one particular team. The pressure on the Padres was this season. Yeah, there's a pressure to win a World Series and to do it for Peter Seidler, but they've kind of already passed that first hurdle, right? It's the hurdle that's in front of you. I think that's the most important one, and that might be most indicative of how much success you're going to have. So I think the Padres already have that momentum of, hey, look, we've got this roster of superstars around us, but we can't figure it out for the regular season. We've got to figure it out now. And we've got a manager that has a little bit more of that postseason success from his time in St. Louis in Mike Schilt. And, Baltimore stuck with Brandon Hyde. The fact that he was at the helm for at least 2 100 loss seasons. I think he was there for 3 of the different 100 loss seasons. They just weren't 3 consecutive. I think that was 18, 19, and then 2021. In the pandemic season, they weren't, they didn't have a 100 loss winning percentage even. But that being said, like, Baltimore has that pressure on them, I think, to go out and win. That pressure is there for every team to do that, but that's their hurdle right now. And I would say that they haven't really gotten past any hurdles yet. They arrived early in 2023, but then they lost in that first round to the Rangers, where, at least the Padres got past the hurdle of, making the postseason and even challenging the Dodgers for the NL West title. So I think they're feeling good in that way. And there just isn't just that same dynamic. That's just me.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting to see if the Orioles can rise to the moment here, because the Royals, if they get bounced, okay, great. Start of a new era. You're going to still have Lugo back next year, Reagans, Bobby Witt Jr. Like, they've already achieved. They've done it. They made the playoffs. The Orioles, yeah, they're supposed to be, I mean, they were supposed to be the favorites going into this season in the American League. And they were supposed to win that division again. Obviously, it was going to be them or the Yankees. That sort of was definitely from the beginning a kind of head-to-head that we thought was going to play out all year. But they dropped the ball at the end, and they could have won that division. So now you can make it all go away in October. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. We got 4 games. That's the wild card round comes at you quick. Okay, it's here and it's over in a flash. Going to start off with that AJ Hinch showdown, the Tigers Astros at 2:30 Eastern, 4 o'clock Eastern, Royals Orioles, Mets Brewers 5:30 Eastern, and then closing it out, Braves Padres 8:30. That'll be game 1. Game 2 will be played on Wednesday. Game 3 on Thursday if they're necessary. And you and I will probably be back on Friday potentially if we can line things up to do the same thing to preview the next round of the division series. So thank you all for tuning into the stream for a little late night baseball action. Appreciate all of you who've been checking out our show throughout the season. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. Check out all the written work we have coming at justbaseball.com, and also follow us on social media at Who's Better BB. We'll be back in a couple days for another stream talking about who's better in baseball.